I had always been the shadow behind Maria. The one who never quite measured up to her in the eyes of our parents, friends, or anyone who mattered. Maria was the golden child. The perfect one, the one who could do no wrong. I lived in her shadow for years, and I accepted it. I had to, because no matter how hard I tried, I would never be able to outshine her. Not in their eyes. But Peter was different. He saw me, for the first time in my life, someone truly saw me not as the second best, not as the overshadowed sister, but as someone worthy of attention. The way he looked at me like I was the only one in the room made me feel real. It made me feel wanted. And when he kissed me, when his hands held mine for the first time, I thought it meant something more. I thought it was real. But then Maria swooped in, as she always did, and took him just like that. At first I told myself it was fine. After all, Maria and Peter had been friends long before. He and I shared that moment. I should have expected it right. She was always the one who got the things I couldn't. She had that effortless charm, that ability to make everyone fall at her feet, including Peter. I convinced myself I had no claim to him. That's how it went. I gave up on him, believing it was for the best, believing it was better for me to fade back into the background and let her have him. But the truth is, I was lying to myself. I thought I was okay with it. But as the days went by, I couldn't stop the gnawing ache in my chest. I couldn't ignore the jealousy that churned inside me every time I saw them together. What I had convinced myself was okay was far from it. The pain of losing Peter to Maria, of watching her take from me something that had meant so much, burned deeper than anything I had ever felt before. And then one day, something in me snapped. I realized I had been a fool to let her take him. I had let him slip through my fingers. And now I couldn't bear to live with that decision anymore. This wasn't just about Peter. This was about me, about reclaiming what was rightfully mine. It was time for me to stop pretending. Time for me to stop living in Maria's shadow. To stop being the one who always gave way. Peter had been mine first, and I wasn't going to let her have him without a fight, but I wasn't going to make a scene. That wasn't my style. Instead, I would wait for the right moment. I would bide my time, let the tension between us build. And when the moment was right, when I could see it in his eyes again, I would make my move. I would remind him of what we once had. I would remind him of who he really wanted. So I started subtly slipping into their lives again. I knew Maria's schedule when she'd be away, when she'd be distracted with her own things. I would drop by pretending to be casual, pretending that everything was normal, even though inside, every moment of seeing Peter felt like a battle I was losing. At first, Peter didn't notice. I could see it in his eyes when I spoke to him, the polite but distant way he responded. But there was something else beneath the surface, something unresolved, something that stirred in him. When he looked at me, the tension was still there. I couldn't let go of him. I didn't want to. Then the opportunity came. Maria was away on one of her weekend trips, leaving Peter alone, just the two of us. No one else in the world mattered in that moment. I knew what I was doing was dangerous, but I also knew I had no choice. This was my moment, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. I walked into their living room, my eyes finding Peter immediately. He was sitting on the couch, staring into his glass of wine. His expression, a mix of contemplation and something else I couldn't quite place. As soon as I entered, his gaze lifted to meet mine, and for a moment the entire world seemed to pause. The tension in the room was thick, but I said nothing. There was no need. Our eyes did all the talking. I felt the pull between us like a current, something that neither of us could deny anymore. I didn't need to ask. He knew why I was here. He didn't speak at first. He didn't have to. The way his body seemed to lean in, the slight tightening of his jaw, spoke volumes. He was waiting for me to make the first move. And I did. Every nerve in my body was awake, alive with the knowledge of what was about to unfold. My fingers trailed lightly down his arm, drawing a delicate line of heat behind them. His muscles tensed at the touch, but there was no resistance, no pulling away. His gaze followed my movements, his eyes darkening as I grew closer. I could hear the rhythm of his breath change, becoming shallow as I reached him, standing barely inches from him now. The world outside of us ceased to exist. All that mattered was the charged atmosphere between us, the unspoken tension pulling at the threads of our restraint. I didn't hesitate, I couldn't. I leaned forward close enough that I could feel his warmth, my lips brushing against his, the first taste of something forbidden. His lips were soft but firm beneath mine, almost as if he had been waiting for this too. I could feel the initial resistance, the way his body seemed to hold back. But I didn't let him. I deepened the kiss just slightly, urging him to respond to feel what I knew was undeniable. For a moment, there was nothing but that kiss. The way his lips softened against mine, the quiet pulse of desire that began to grow between us. His hands moved from his lap, unsure at first, but then he gripped my waist, pulling me toward him, closing the distance between us entirely. I could feel his heartbeat rapid against his chest, the heat of him seeping into me, erasing any remaining doubts. I pressed closer, letting him feel the full length of my body against his. My hand slid over his chest, feeling the way his muscles tensed beneath the fabric of his shirt, the warmth of his skin making my own pulse race. There was a part of me that knew what we were doing was wrong, that this was a betrayal of everything I had ever known. But that knowledge only made the moment sweeter, because Maria had stolen Peter from me. She had taken everything, and now I was taking it back. His hand slid up my back, gripping my shoulders as he kissed me harder, his lips demanding, pulling me deeper into the kiss. His touch was more urgent now, like he couldn't control himself, like I had somehow unlocked a part of him he had been fighting for far too long. His fingers fumbled with the buttons of my blouse, his movements shaking with the tension of the moment. But I didn't stop him. I let him pull me closer, let him explore, feel the warmth of my skin, the soft curves of my body. His breath was ragged against my neck as his hands moved lower, and I responded by pressing myself harder into him, feeling the undeniable tension building. There was no turning back now. Every touch, every caress seemed to build upon the last, until the room was heavy with unspoken promises and desires that had been buried for too long. I don't know how long we stayed like that, locked in a moment that felt both endless and fleeting. When it was over and we lay there together, the silence between us wasn't comforting. It was heavy. It was thick with the realization of what we had done. I could feel Peter's body tense beside me, his back turned away, though he didn't get up. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The aftermath of what had happened lingered in the air. I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. I had crossed a line, and so had he. But now, in this quiet aftermath, I couldn't help but feel the power I had reclaimed. Maria would never understand. She would never know what I had taken back. And as I lay there, a part of me realized I wasn't just taking Peter back from her. I was taking everything back, and this time I wouldn't let her have it. The moment was mine, and I knew this wasn't just a fleeting victory. Maria would never know the truth. She would never understand that I had taken what was mine and more. As I lay there in the silence of the room, the weight of what I had done settled into me, and I could feel the power surging through my veins. I had finally found a way to make the world see me. Not as the forgotten sister, not as the one left behind, but as the one who took control. I had won, and there was nothing Maria could do to take it back.